personnel reliability program? Do you have personal defects? Do you have financial problems which could compromise you? Do you have a problem with infidelity? This is the program where they screen you to see if you can be trusted to hold an M16 to guard the truck that might carry a nuclear weapon. Not that it will, that it might. Then also is the program where they determine whether you're an Air Force missile flight officer, whether you can go down into a bunker and be responsible to turn the keys on a Minuteman III missile.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That is an entire scaled evaluation program that shows your personal reliability to carry out your orders and to do the highest risk things like fly a B-52 bomber or a B-2 bomber and drop a nuclear weapon. The President of the United States doesn't have to meet any of these parameters, none of them.
At first, it was mostly just political name calling and insults.
Guarantee I have a vocabulary better than all of them. Most of them, I know I have an IQ better than all of them. I'm very highly educated. I know words, I have the best words. I have to, but there's no better word than stupid. I don't remember. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? I am the chosen one.
No one had numbers. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph.
Why put him out there for the very first time and utter a falsehood? Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains,
she could barely say that with a straight face.
My name is John Gardner. I'm a psychologist. I taught in the Department of Psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University for 28 years.
My name is Lance Dotis. I'm a psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst. I've spent most of my research career looking at compulsive and addictive behavior, and I've become interested in the importance of psychology and politics in recent years because of the threat to our country. It's as nonsensical as saying an orthopedic surgeon shouldn't be able to watch somebody in a football injury and say that person probably has an ACL tear. He can say it because he's an expert in the field. Something happened, he observed it.
And what people need to understand is that actually the psychiatric interview is the least reliable method of making a diagnosis, because our current diagnostic system, the DSM, is based on observable behavioral criteria. Well, when you meet with someone, they can lie to you. So they can say, oh, I never did that, or I don't do that. But if you could actually observe their behavior, if you could follow them around, if you could watch them on TV, if you could read their social media, if you could talk to all their significant others, you'd probably get a much more reliable indicator of how they behave.
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
I am more confident in my diagnosis of Donald Trump than any diagnosis I've ever made before, because I have more information. Donald Trump shows clear signs of the most severe personality disorder. It's called malignant narcissism, and it was first introduced by Erich Fromm. And he formulated this diagnosis of malignant narcissism, which has 4 components: narcissism, paranoia, antisocial personality disorder, and sadism. I think everybody knows Donald Trump's a narcissist by now.
I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created. I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
Who are you consulting with consistently so that you're ready on day one?
I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain.
But it's the other 3 components that make him truly dangerous, because many politicians are narcissistic, but he's also paranoid.
The birth certificate was produced in 2011. You continued to tell the story and question the president's legitimacy in 2012, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah. And his demonization of anyone who disagrees with him.
Nasty guy. Now I know why he doesn't have one endorsement from any of his...
Antisocial personality disorder, or what used to be called psychopathy or sociopathy. It's constant lying. Well, he's the most documented liar in human history, I think, at this point. And it's a lack of remorse. He has no guilt or anxiety about the destructive things that he does.
Impeachment for that? It was beautiful. It was just a perfect conversation.
And the fourth component that Eric Fromm identified is sadism. Truly taking pleasure in harming, humiliating, and degrading other human beings. If you read his tweets, I wrote an introduction to a book about his tweets. I had to read thousands of his tweets, and they literally made me ill because it was just one vicious attack on and humiliating insult after another. It's like, how can someone even come up with thousands of vicious things to say about so many people?
I want the cleanest water on earth. I want the cleanest air on earth. And that's what we're doing. And I'm an environmentalist. A lot of people don't understand that. I have done more environmental impact statements probably than anybody that's, I guess I can say definitely, because I've done many, many, many of them. More than anybody that's ever been president or vice president or anything even close to president. And I think I know more about the environment than most people.
Gaslighting is a crucial tool of abusive personalities. It is lying to someone in a way that makes them doubt their own perception of reality.
I'm Dr. Ramani Devasala. I'm a professor of psychology. Very common sorts of gaslighting statements are things like, it never happened that way, you must be losing your mind. They'll literally say things happened that didn't happen, I didn't do that, I didn't say that. Many people call gaslighting a form of emotional abuse because what you're really doing is setting out to confuse another person. When you confuse someone like that, you really do almost render them more vulnerable to you and actually easier to coerce because now they don't really know which way is up. It's as though you sort of turn gravity off and turn them upside down.
I don't know if you remember the point where Trump said, listen, don't pay attention to what you're seeing. Don't pay attention to what you're hearing.
What you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
Empathy is a normal human trait. It's actually normal in all mammals. It starts in childhood with a parent and a child, and it continues throughout society. It's what glues people together instead of just fighting against each other.
I believe strongly in getting even. If somebody has hurt you, if somebody's gone out of their way to hurt you, I think that if you have the opportunity, you should certainly go out of your way to do a number of our teachings. I just believe it. I believe in an eye for an eye.
Matter. There's an absence of loyalty. The absence of loyalty is a sign of antisocial personality disorder. Loyalty at its best means I care about this person, I value this person, so I will stick by this person. If you have a person without empathy, what you find is that loyalty disappears as soon as the other person crosses them. As soon as somebody says, I'm not with you anymore, or I disagree, it flips from you are the greatest person to you are a horrible person, you are a worthless person, and I will attack you, I will destroy you.
You can't disrupt a 243-year experiment for one dude's personality.
It has now been a week since the Centers for Disease Control confirmed the first community transmission of coronavirus in the United States.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus.
It's not just being manipulative, it's a fundamental inability to not be that way.
We have it so well under control. I mean, view this the same as the flu. When somebody sneezes, I mean, I try and bail out as much as possible. Relax. You're doing great.
The Dow is now down nearly 900 points.
To be president, you have to exercise good judgment on behalf of the American people for their interest.
They have to go back to work. Our country has to go back. Our country is based on that. I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. We have Monday night football type ratings, and that these are like Bachelor finale.
Say, sir, what metrics you will use to make that decision?
The metrics right here. If we can hold that down between 100 and 200,000, we all together have done a very good job. I am very proud to be your president. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
He's detached from reality.
We all have to do everything that we can do because our society is at risk and we could lose it all. We could lose this grand experiment in democracy. I think we're more than halfway there. I think people don't realize how far this has actually progressed.
When you're in a period of rising authoritarianism, it's very easy to get exhausted because the news comes at you like bullets from a machine gun, all of it bad. One of the best weapons against authoritarianism is protests in the street. And protests are key because not only does the leader see that he's unpopular, but even more important, his allies see that the public is actually against them.
Think of what you tell your kids. You tell them to be honest. You tell them to tell the truth. You tell them, don't think of yourself. Don't brag. Don't trash other people to make yourself feel good. How can you support Donald Trump? How can you support somebody who essentially violates all of the things that we want them to follow? It makes no sense.
I actually go back to, believe it or not, chimpanzees. You know, when Jane Goodall was observing chimpanzees, you know, one of the things she showed us is how loving they were, you know, and how human they were. And she bonded with them and formed these relationships with them. And then the males would compete for dominance. You know, they'd pound their chest and they'd throw dirt up in the air and they'd throw heavy rocks into the river to show who was more powerful. But no one ever really got hurt. It was all called display behavior, just to sort of show who was the toughest and that person would become the alpha. What happened, though, after many years is that troop that she observed became so big, they split into two troops. So everything she taught us about chimpanzees is really what we would call within group behavior. It says nothing about between group behavior. Once the troops had split apart, a very aggressive, charismatic alpha male from one of the groups would start beating his chest and hooting and slapping the other males and getting them excited, and then he would start marching towards the other group's territory, and the other males would follow him. And they would wait at the edge of the territory for another male, maybe even someone they were friends with when the troop was one troop, and they will barrel down the hill and beat that male to death. And they'll do that systematically until they're able to take over the other group's females and their land. Now think about this from an evolutionary point of view. Whose genes got to move on? The troop with the malignant narcissistic leader said, let's go kill all the other chimpanzees. So this is very deep in our genetic programming. And this is why demagogues like Trump are able to be successful. Because before Trump, we had fractures in our society, but we had this overarching identity as Americans. Donald Trump fractures it and says, no, we're actually two troops. And our troop is being attacked by that troop. And if we don't go over there and beat the crap out of them, they're going to destroy us. And that is like a siren song to the deep genetic programming in the base of our animal brains that, yes, if somebody convinces us that other troop is trying to kill us, and I don't care how bad my leader is, but he's the one who's leading us to the edge of the troop, so only one of us is going to survive. Who cares if he's a liar? We want to survive. And the only way we survive is by attacking those other people. That primitive programming is actually not atypical. They're not anomalous. They're not unusual. Humankind has been at war in every place at every time, right? And they've been horrible to, in war, to burning down villages, raping women, torturing people, killing people. That's actually normal for the human animal, unfortunately. It's the psychology of power. We all tend to fall behind the powerful leader out of self-preservation and out of group preservation. It's the natural instinct.